It began with something small, so insignificant I almost missed it. I was shaving one morning when I noticed my reflection. His razor moved a fraction of a second after mine. At first, I thought it was just the lighting in my cramped bathroom, or maybe my tired eyes playing tricks after another sleepless night. But then it happened again, and again. By the third day, the delays grew longer. I'd turn away from the mirror only to catch my reflection still watching me in the periphery. When I'd spin back, it would snap into place with an almost mechanical precision, like a poorly synced video. My girlfriend Lisa noticed something was off. "You've been jumpy all week," she said over dinner, her fork hovering midair. "Is everything okay?" I lied and blamed work stress. How could I explain that my reflection was developing a mind of its own? The incidents escalated. One evening, while brushing my teeth, I spit into the sink, only to watch my reflection swallow instead. I choked on my toothpaste, coughing violently as my mirror image smiled with foam-covered teeth. I started documenting everything. Voice memos, video diaries. The footage showed nothing unusual, just me reacting to empty air. But in person, the anomalies became impossible to ignore. My reflection would sometimes mouth words I wasn't saying, or subtly change expressions when I looked away. Dr. Chen, my therapist, suggested it might be stress-induced dissociation. "The mind can play remarkable tricks when under pressure," she said, adjusting her glasses. But I knew better. This wasn't in my head. My reflection was changing, learning, becoming something else. The night everything changed began normally enough. I was getting ready for bed when I noticed my reflection wasn't mimicking me at all anymore. It was just watching. As I stood frozen in terror, it slowly raised its hand and pressed against the glass. The surface rippled like mercury, bending inward under its touch. I smashed the bathroom mirror with my fist. Glass rained down in glittering shards, slicing my knuckles. But when I looked at the broken pieces scattered across the tile floor, each fragment contained a perfect, intact reflection, and they were all smiling. Now I live in a carefully constructed world without mirrors. All reflective surfaces in my apartment have been removed or covered. I shave by touch and avoid puddles after rain. But sometimes, in the black screen of my turned-off TV or the darkened window at night, I catch glimpses of him. My other self. He looks better than I do now. More put together. His hair is always perfectly styled, his clothes unwrinkled. Sometimes he mouths words I can almost hear. Last night, for the first time, I'm certain he winked at me. The first time I heard its voice, I was washing dishes 3 weeks after the incident. The kitchen window had gone dark with night, transforming into a murky mirror. I kept my head down, scrubbing furiously at a stubborn stain, when the water's surface suddenly stilled. "You can't ignore me forever." The voice wasn't audible. It vibrated directly into my skull, like a thought that wasn't mine. My hands jerked, sending soapy water splashing across the counter. When I dared to look, my reflection stood calmly drying its hands with a towel I wasn't holding. Lisa found me hyperventilating on the kitchen floor. "Another panic attack?" she asked, her brow furrowing in that particular way that meant she was considering calling Dr. Chen again. I nodded weakly, watching over her shoulder, as my reflection in the dark window mimed laughter, its shoulders shaking in silent amusement. Objects began disappearing. First my favorite blue tie, then my toothbrush, then the framed photo of my parents from the dresser. I'd search the apartment frantically, only to catch glimpses of them in reflections. My reflection wearing the tie, using the toothbrush, holding the photo with a satisfied smirk. One morning I woke to find my left sneaker missing. That afternoon, through my office's glass partition, I saw my reflection pacing behind me, wearing the shoe. When I spun around, my empty chair sat undisturbed. My coworker, Mark, gave me a strange look. "You okay, man? You've been twitchy all week." Lisa finally saw it happen during our anniversary dinner. My reflection in the restaurant's mirrored wall reached out and adjusted my collar, a full 3 seconds before I did. Her fork clattered onto her plate. Did you see that?" she whispered. The relief of being believed nearly brought me to tears, but then her face went pale as my reflection winked at her. She screamed so loudly the manager came running. By the time I'd calmed her down enough to speak, all the mirrors in the restaurant showed only normal reflections. The final change happened gradually. I'd wake up with unexplained bruises. My clothes would be rearranged in the closet. Notes in handwriting eerily similar to mine, but not quite, appeared on the fridge. Then came the morning when Lisa kissed me goodbye before work. I watched from the bedroom doorway as she laughed at something my reflection said, completely unaware I was still in bed. When I tried to shout, no sound came out. My limbs refused to move, as if I'd become the reflection. Now I exist in this liminal space, watching through mirrors and polished surfaces as my doppelganger lives my life better than I ever did. He's more patient with Lisa, more productive at work. Even my plants seem to thrive under his care. Sometimes at night when he passes a mirror, he'll pause and look directly at me. The original, the inferior version. His lips form the same words every time. "Thank you." And the worst part? I think he genuinely means it. Days blurred together in my mirrored prison. I learned to move through reflections like a ghost, flitting from the bathroom mirror to the microwave's glossy surface, to the dark screen of Lisa's smartphone when she left it unattended. My world had become a funhouse of distorted angles and fragmented perspectives, each reflection offering only partial glimpses of the life that had been stolen from me. The worst moments came at night. From my vantage point in the bedroom mirror, I'd watch the imposter sleep peacefully in our bed, his arm draped possessively over Lisa. Sometimes he'd wake suddenly, as if sensing my presence, and lock eyes with me across the dark room. Those nights, he'd smile cruelly before pulling the covers over Lisa's shoulders in a mockery of tenderness. My chance came on a rainy Tuesday. The imposter had left his shaving kit open near the sink. As he leaned close to the mirror, humming tunelessly, I gathered all my willpower and lunged forward. For one glorious second, I felt the barrier between us flex like stretched plastic. Our fingers met, his warm and solid, mine cold and shimmering, and his eyes widened in genuine shock. Then some invisible force snapped me back like a rubber band, leaving him staring at his own reflection, now perfectly normal. He touched his cheek where our fingers had brushed. "Interesting," he murmured, before calmly finishing his shave. The imposter began experimenting after that. He'd leave reflective surfaces strategically placed around the apartment like traps. A compact mirror left open on the coffee table. A silver tray angled just so near my favorite chair. Sometimes he'd speak to me when no one else could hear. "You're not supposed to be able to do that," he admitted one evening, polishing a hand mirror with deliberate care. "The original is always meant to fade away." He tilted the mirror so I could see Lisa laughing in the kitchen. "But you're stubborn." His casual cruelty gave me an idea. If I couldn't escape, maybe I could make this stolen life unbearable. It started small. When Lisa asked about forgotten conversations, I'd mouth the answers just before the imposter could respond. Important emails went unsent as I distracted him at critical moments. Once, during an argument, I mimed slapping Lisa's face, just as she turned to see his reflection making the violent gesture. The cracks in his perfect facade began to show. He started avoiding mirrors himself, growing increasingly paranoid. Lisa's concerned glances became more frequent. "You haven't been yourself lately," she said one night over dinner, unaware of the cruel irony. The imposter finally snapped during a company video call. As his colleagues watched in horror, his reflection began screaming soundlessly, pounding on invisible barriers. He smashed the laptop in response, ending the call abruptly. That evening, I watched from the hallway mirror as Lisa packed a suitcase. "I don't know what's happening to you," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "But I can't do this anymore." For the first time, I saw genuine fear in the imposter's eyes. He was losing control, and that made him dangerous. The night Lisa left, the imposter went on a rampage. He tore down every mirror, covered every reflective surface, screaming at me the whole time. "You ruin everything!" he shrieked, hurling a framed photo against the wall. But he missed one. As he stood panting amidst the destruction, the dark television screen caught his attention. My face appeared, clearer than ever before. I mouthed 3 words. "My turn now!" When he lunged at the TV, I was ready. The moment his hands touched the screen, I pulled with every ounce of my being. The world turned inside out in a dizzying rush. Suddenly, I was the one standing in the living room, breathing hard, staring at my own terrified face trapped in the television. Our positions reversed, I finally understood the truth. The reflection wasn't some evil entity. It was always me. A darker version, yes, but still fundamentally me. We'd both been fighting for the same life, convinced we were the rightful owner. From the television, my other self pounded on the glass, his screams muted. I reached for the power cord, my hand hovering over the plug. The choice was finally mine. I left the TV on. Some nights, when the apartment is quiet and Lisa is sleeping, she came back, of course. The old me she fell in love with had returned. I sit cross-legged before the screen and press my palm against its cool surface. On the other side, my reflection does the same. We've reached an understanding, he and I. The glass between us is thinner now. Sometimes I catch him smiling. Not the cruel smirk of before, but something almost grateful. After all, he got what he wanted. And so did I, because every morning when I shave, my reflection moves in perfect sync. At least for now.